for a tour after this dialogue. You will remember my invitation. After this dialogue, you are welcome for a guided tour at our museum. Now, without wasting much of the time, I would like to acknowledge the following people. As you know, we are here because it's Youth Month. We are here because there was a youth then, which sits right here on my left, and there is a youth now, which is on my right, and majority of you. And Freedom Park as a space that commemorates and documents our history, we are celebrating the vibrant life of a young person. So when you see an older person tomorrow, you must know that they were once young. There is always an opportunity to learn of what was, that you can learn what to do and what not to do in your current young state. So this particular gathering, dialogue itself, it is for us to unpack the youth of then, 1976, which is what we commemorate and celebrate as our National Youth Day. I don't want to speak much about it because I want you to experience and enjoy the discussions. Ntatengema, Ntantlangema, Stimela Sasezola himself, thank you for coming. We acknowledge you. Brapet, Colgate, Brakongo Hadebe, silence. And I do know that there is Melindi Lamini and Ntombikona Lamini. We will have them online. The schools that are here, I want to acknowledge your schools. There is Pilendaba Secondary School. Then you can show your hand. You're welcome. Soul Ridge, give me that young thing. Ooh, 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 ooh. I saw you guys up there. You were doing it. Edward Patudi, you can do better than that, man. You're young people. You see, I'm caught up in the old generation. I'm the millennium. So I don't know whether I'm old or I'm young. So I don't know whether to hold myself. So help me, guys. Pretoria Technical High. There you go. Pretoria boys. There you go. Pretoria Secondary. There you go. Lodium. Himalaya. There you go. The Glen. Seshachona. See, you were the ones who were performing there. Oh. Any school that I left out? That's all. Thank you so much, guys, for attending this dialogue. And I would like to wish you all the best in your discussions. Without wasting much of our time, I'm going to ask our HOD Corporate Services, Mr. Kliani, to give you a good welcome, a brief of Freedom Park, and also the context why you are here, which is the reason why I didn't want to explain a lot, because I was going to steal his whole speech. So please put your hands together, guys, in a young way, and welcome Ndadetlia.
Thank you very much, Interim Program Director. Our Program Director is running a few minutes late, but we said, let us respect our guests by starting at the promised time. There is no such a thing as African time. There is just one time, and we need to all be professional. It is an honor and a privilege for me to be standing in front of you, not on my behalf, but on behalf of the Council of Freedom Park, on behalf of the executive management and the extended management of Freedom Park, on behalf of the staff of Freedom Park, to say to you, our esteemed guests and visitors, welcome to this beautiful place. Freedom Park is a monument, is an interpretive center that has got a mandate of acknowledging, celebrating, and honoring those who came before us, who gave their lives so that we may be free or enjoying the freedom that we do today. These are South Africans who contributed to the development of our country in many ways, particularly as they gave their lives so that this beautiful country, your country, my country, our country can be free. These are also African brothers and sisters from other countries on our beautiful and beloved continent who did not sit back when the people of this land were crying out, who also lended a hand so that the struggle for liberation could be persecuted in a manner that would result in where we are sitting today. And these are also other people from beyond our continent who contributed in many ways so that we can be where we are today. So today, you are seated, you are congregating, meeting at a place that is a manifestation of the national liberation struggle, but also the international solidarity that we experience as South Africans. We are also meeting here today during this month of young people so that we can reflect on the past. We can also ponder on the present so that we are able to imagine a future that is definitely better than the present. It is my honor, my brothers and sisters, to welcome you to Freedom Park. So why are we here today? We are here so that we can have an intergenerational conversation, a conversation that involves those who came before us and who made a contribution, particularly in the area of the arts. Some of you were definitely, in fact, most of you, no, not most of you, all of you, except some of your teachers, because even some of your teachers were not born then, when this gentleman graced the stage of the warehouse at the Market Theatre. I told Ntate Nkanka when I first made a call to him that I'm proud and privileged that I was one of the first audiences that attended Sarafina when Ntate Mbongeni put it together with them. They were not sure that it was going to be the success that it became. And to demonstrate that, I'm not getting into the politics of the theaters, but they were not given the main theater at the at Market Theatre. They were given the warehouse. It is slightly outside the main building. But Sarafina and this gentleman forced their way to become and get into the main theater. Not only the main theater, but they went to the most celebrated theater in the world, Broadway in New York. And so I want to welcome them on behalf of the management. We are really and truly honored. Let me confess this. I'm not just a fan of Sarafina. I'm a fanatic. You understand the difference, ne? A fan, you can still be sober in your judgment. A fanatic, sobriety goes out. You just love the thing. You memorize every word from it. You want to emulate every step, every dance and everything. But we are honored and we're hoping that you will enjoy yourself. On a serious note, this is about learning from them. It is about honoring them. It is about hearing what it was like to have what was a revolutionary piece of theater right at the center of the state of emergency. And that's one thing that we often forget, that Sarafina premiered during the state of emergency in the country. And we wish to hear the experiences then. With these few words, we want to welcome you all. Feel at home. This is your home. Kia leboha.
Oh, do it again?
Let's give ourselves and a bayataki, no?
I can't. I usually boast and say I shine. Hey, no, today I think I'm outshined. Do it one more time. I'm copying. Thank you very much, HOD, for welcoming us and for articulating the purpose why we are here. For now, I'm going to call the Freedom Park storytellers, Utandi and Kopano, to show us how do we celebrate the concept of freedom using arts. And this, again, is a challenge to you as young people. How do you celebrate the concept of freedom through arts? You are more creative and already more creative than I ever thought. Kopano and Tandi, the stage is yours.
Savuma sangena kwamanye amazwe lapho kungangikho nubaba nomama sangena inkululeko
Sabashiya bazale kaya sangena kwamanye amazwe kungazikho baba nomama silandela inkululeko sathi salan ekhaya saphuma sangena kwamanye amazwe kwamanye amazwe
abokungake khona ubaba nomama sabele
inkululeko. Sanibonani. Molweni. Ninjani? Siyaphila. Igama lami ndinguThandi. I'm a storyteller here at Freedom Park. I grew up with storytelling. I mostly tell stories that my great-grandmother used to tell. Those are the stories that I often tell. But today's story is not a story that was cooked from the warmth of the fires where African grandmothers would sit to teach through entertainment the children, where complex topics would be broken down so that even the youngest child could understand them. Today's story is a story that was formed from the blood-curdling screams of pain, torture, courage, and then silence. They say, if you visit the Joburg Central Police Station today, you can still hear it. The 10th floor of John Foster Square still breathes to this day. Not with life, but with the screams of the tortured bodies of the youth of the 70s and the 80s that never stopped echoing. It breathes with the marching footsteps of the special branch police that march through the corridors in the night, decades after the torturers and their young victims have turned to ashes and dust. It was there, high above the choking smog of apartheid Johannesburg, where our struggle warriors found themselves caged, torn from the struggle outside, thrown into a dark war behind cold stone walls. One of the survivors of the 10th floor at John Foster Square says to me, I remember the noises. Someone screaming over and over and over again, and then went silent. We never knew who it was, but we understood that yet again on that day, another young person's body had been claimed by the 10th floor at John Foster Square. It's not the memories of the torture, nor the blood that seeped through the cracks of that terrible floor that haunt me. What haunts me the most are the spirits of the young women that fought besides us. Young guerrillas, many of them barely out of their school uniform. They burned with revolution. They burned too often on their own. I'm talking about girls who picked up pamphlets with one hand and petrol bombs in the other. Girls that marched on foot, crossing borders to join the armed struggle. Girls that hid grenades under their skirts. Girls that fed the underground with whispers, passwords, information. And when they were caught, they were thrown into rooms at the 10th floor of John Foster Square, where they were tortured, not only for information, but mostly because they were young, they were black, they were female, and they dared to dream about being free. They say, if you listen carefully, the 10th floor of John Foster Square still breathes to this day, not with life, but with memories and ghosts. The ghosts of the girls who screamed over and over again, and then went silent. Tell their stories. Carve their names on stones. Let the world know their names, their stories, or they will never rest. From Cape to Cairo, Morocco to Madagascar, Batilenia, Zania, Izoletu, Solitata, Gebazuka. From Cape to Cairo, Morocco to Madagascar, Batilenia, Zania, Lizoletu, Solitata, Gebazuka. Amandla! Amandla!
Do it again.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be joined by Metesh as co-facilitators. Thank you very much for that rendition. We are going now into the reflection where we will give the cast of Sarafina to briefly reflect on their journey, how it was. And this is the cast that tells us that it was always like that in our school. Wordless, Imbomba. Those days went down bitter and sore with the presence of the army and the police, not only inside our schoolyard, but right inside our classrooms. Those were the days of anger and fear, the days when our brothers and sisters disappeared into the police cells at John Foster Square. Some came back and some didn't come back. We were told that some died when they jumped from the top floor of the interrogation room in John Foster Square, and their bones were found scattered in the streets of Johannesburg. Thank you. I don't want to go to the concert site and talk about Bracobra or Spoot or Rowena. Thank you very much. Bondat, just the three of you, a few minutes each. How was it like? Where did it start? In those days when the police could have just arrived at the rehearsals, they could have arrested you for an illegal gathering. They could have arrested you for incitement. We are talking about 1987. The apartheid regime had unfettered powers. Just take us back there.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. My name is Nhlanhla Ngema. I play the role of Stimela in Sarafina. Taking you back, 1986, when Ubaba Umbongeni Ngema put together the production of Sarafina, he had a vision. Now, we find ourselves rehearsing in Fordsburg. He had this, he bought this old building in Fordsburg where his company, Committed Artists, was working. That was the base for all his companies. But we were the guinea pigs, the original cast of Sarafina. And where we were rehearsing is just a few meters or miles away from John Foster Square. Every night during our rehearsals, we would hear footsteps.
What is John Foster Square?
John Foster Square is this notorious maximum security prison where they used to torture. My sister here just mentioned a few things about John Foster Square, where they used to torture comrades, young people, whether Babu HOD spoken about the state of emergency at the time. We were not allowed to be walking on the streets more than 3. You get arrested. We were not allowed to be seen reading a book that has a Nelson Mandela name. Even mentioning Nelson Mandela was a crime. Mentioning Stephen Biko was a crime. So when we started Sarafina, even when we were learning the script, we never used to have the actual script. Everything had to be in your head, because if they find anything that is written, that is seen to be political, you were to be sent to John Foster Square. A lot of our friends and young people never made it back from John Foster Square. Others, like the lines in Sarafina are saying, those that came back, they were mentally disturbed because of the torture that they experienced in there. And obviously, most of them were killed in there during those torturous moments. So we hear the footsteps, these guys coming up to see what we are doing. And Putumbongeni would just say, let's just sing a song. Maybe they would just instruct a band to start Sarafina. They would just look at us dancing, Sarafina, when you're talking the way you talk, the body temperature begins to rise. There's no political message or word in there. So they would sit there, watch our rehearsals. We just keep dancing and singing those songs until they leave. And then we would go back to the actual script, like the lines that HOD was just saying now, which are actually in the show with Pet Mlaba. He's the one that says those lines. It was another era. Let me stop there for now. Let me give it to my brother here, Pet, just to say a few words.
Before Brapet, let's make it interactive. What is it that you want to hear from these legends? What came to your mind? What have you prepared, or thus far as you hear before Brapet comes in?
So, morning, sir. How, back when you were performing or rehearsing in Forsberg, and the police coming up and viewing what you guys were doing, how did you feel when you saw the police coming towards you? Because right now in South Africa, in our current state, I don't think many of us feel afraid when we see police. How did you feel when you saw police?
Thank you for that question. It was a different era. Police were our enemy. Even if you are just walking in the street, I remember when we grew up in Durban, in Umlazi, we would be walking in the street, and then from nowhere, the hippo, that big army truck would just come. It's either they torture you or they. So when you see that army truck, that hippo, you have to run. That was the only survival mode we have. So you have to run away from the police. So to answer your question, that was one of the scariest moments when you see those people coming into the rehearsal, because we thought, okay, everyone is going to get arrested. But then they would just sit there and watch, and they would think that, this is nothing. And then they would go away.
Come back to the young people.
Thank you for having us here. Like my brother Klanta said.
So do you still remember the lines?
Yes, because I just finished the run of Joburg Theatre.
Oh, yes.
Wasn't you actually there in this run?
Yes. No, thank you. You can continue. Thank you.
Yes.
But maybe before he continues, let's have a clip of the lines.
Yeah.
You're an artist.
From the original. You know, you just had the fake now called Console Kian. Let's get the original, guys. Prepared. The stage is yours.
Please.
Wow.
Now, it cannot come as original as this.
Guys, get your cameras and get your the vibe. This is the original.
So that you have the boasting rights.
It was always like that at a school. Oneness. Imbumba. Those days went down bitter and sore with the presence of the army and the police. Not only in a schoolyard, but right inside our classrooms. Those were the days of anger, the days of panic and fear, the days when our brothers and sisters disappeared into the police cells. Others came back, and others never came back. We were told others hung themselves in the police cells in detention, and others fell in the showers and died. And again, we were told others tried to escape by jumping from the 10th floor of the interrogation room at John Foster Square Maximum Police Headquarters. Their bones were found scattered in the streets of Johannesburg. And others are still languishing in jails. Others never recovered from the electric shocks of the interrogation room. Up to this day, they are lunatics.
Beautiful.
Like my brother in Atlanta said, it was dangerous, more dangerous, because when you think about it, my body just shivered, you know. When you think about it, it was very, very dangerous, because some of these young boys of white boers, they were not allowed to shoot at random, but sometimes they will use a sling with a bolt. Imagine when a sling hits you with a bolt in your head, sometimes you die, sometimes you can get very, very injured, you know. Like my sister here told us that the John Foster Square, one of the lieutenant in John Foster Square told his crew that they must go and remove the cars that were parked on the sidewalk. When they went inside that building in Forsberg, it was in the morning. When they went inside there, some of us were sleeping because we knock off very late in the morning. We rehearsed from 9 o'clock until 12 midnight. When they get there, some of us were sleeping, like myself, I was sleeping wearing a t-shirt that was written Azapo by then. When I wake up, they saw the t-shirt that was written Azapo. Then they were on top of me. They took me to John Foster. They put me in the room that, when you get inside of that room, there was only one chair. The walls they were smeared with blood, you know. That's why they told me that today, je zal de waar uitpraat. You are a comrade. And by then I was not an active comrade, I was just a dancer and an actor. Because we artists, we don't carry guns, we carry guitars. When we shoot with our dialogues and with the music. But unfortunately, the captain, when he came into that room, he said, "You guys, I didn't tell you that you must be, who is this guy?" And they said, "He's one of the comrades that we found in Forsberg." I didn't send you to detain this guy. I told you to go and tell them that they must remove the cars that were parked on a sidewalk. That's where I saw many stories in John Foster Square that they can tie you with a belt, and that's what Mbongeni wrote about it when he heard the story that what happened when I come back. But to cut the matter short, our freedom has never been easy. We fought with music and dance. We tell stories all over the world. Even today, I don't think we are free, because freedom is just a word for a new oppressor. If you can go back, you like at your age, sometimes when I see young boys like you, a youth of today, I envy them. I wish I can go back to be younger than you, as you guys, you know? Because when I look at you today, you are free. But I've got a problem. It's like most of you, they don't take this freedom very, very serious, because people died for this freedom to be where you are today. Because back in the day, in our time, black people, they never went to multiracial schools. We only in one class, 80 of us using one class. The education was very, very, very tough. Sometimes you can do mathematics in Afrikaans. The first Kende, it was very, 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 very tough. I envy you guys. You must take your life serious, because many people died for this freedom that we are having today. I don't know. There's more. There's more. I envy you, seriously. You guys must take your life serious, because some of you, you don't take your life serious. The class of 1976, they had no opportunities like you, the opportunities that you are having today, because it was tough, very, very tough. I don't know, my brother.
Hello. My name is Kongo Hadel from Sarafina, the original. The only thing that I can ask you to do, just stay away from the drugs. Stay away from Yaumbe. Go to school. Without education, we are just nothing. If you can do me that favor, thank you.
Thank you very much. We are going to start a transition because our program director is facilitator is here, but I'm going to ease her into the facilitation. Let us now hear, and by the way, Ndate Malebani was playing the role of silence. Thank you very much. Let us hear from the young people again. Any question?
Good morning. Thank you. I heard you mention that we are free. But to be honest, my question is, are we really free if we are still facing the challenge of unemployment? Yes, most of us go to schools, but is our future guaranteed that we're going to get into the careers that we want to be in? So that's what I wanted to get. You said we are free. Yes, we might be free that we can walk around the streets, but we're still facing those challenges of unemployment and poverty. And we still have limited resources. Yes, that's my question.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is there another question?
Good morning. My question is, during the making of Sarafina, what was the lesson that you personally took from it and you wish that we, as the youth of today, can take from that lesson that you learned while making Sarafina?
Thank you. Let's take those two questions, then we'll come back to the others. As you prepare yourself on the floor, and also the teachers, please don't hold back to also share your views or ask any questions. Over to you, gentlemen.
I heard you said I talk about freedom and employment. Freedom and employment. Back in the days, during our days, we used to sell apples, ice cream cheese. I don't know, maybe they know ice cream cheese, a Kool-Aid that you freeze in the deep freezer.
Ice pops.
Ice pops, yeah. We used to sell those things. And poverty. Now, I think now, most of the things, you guys, you've got the power. The power it's in you, because back in the day, poverty was there. It was worse, because my mother was a domestic worker. We used to go and clean white people's houses and bring a little bit of bread. But we used to share that bread, that half a loaf. We used to share it and read in the darkness with a candlestick. Now there's electricity. There's, during the school holidays, we used to go to Pick and Pay Pep stores and do some part-time jobs there in order to get some money that we can do something about it, you know. But for you guys now, now I can't compare myself with you, because when I see you, I see somebody that who was very, very, very lucky and who have an opportunity, a big opportunity to improve your life.
Thank you, Parapet. To add on your words, as much as of course there is a lot of unemployment today, with graduates sitting at home, you ask yourself, why did I go to school when I'm going to be sitting at home with my degrees? But now the question is, we still have a long way to go with our government. I think it's one of the reasons we are having this discussion. I hope that the views and whatever we come up with today will help one way or another, or will reach the ears of those that are in power. Because as much as we say we are free, but there's still a lot of things. Of course, it's not the same like our generation, but there's still a lot of things that need to be dealt with. And like you mentioned, the first one is unemployment. There's a lot. But I think what Prapet is trying to put in front is that the generation of today have got resources, there's a lot of things that are better now than it was then. I think I am making sense, I hope.
Yeah. The other question is about Sarafina, what were the lessons that you learned?
And
Person-
what lessons you want us to take from Sarafina?
The biggest lesson was, or is, we fought for freedom through the arts. And it worked. When we started doing Sarafina, everyone was questioning what we do. What are you guys doing? You're gonna get arrested, this thing is not gonna go anywhere. The same question, actually, the students in the US used to ask, Uguti, they used to say, how can we help you, meaning help us as South Africans? And the simple answer to that was, the American government has to clean up their act first, because there's a lot of ghettos in America that you don't see on TV. There's a lot of poverty among black communities that we don't see on TV. We see America as this glamorous place, but when you actually live there, you see that actually home is much better than here. So we learned those kind of lessons that we are hoping to really give back now to our youth. We specialize in the entertainment industry. We know there's a lot of actors and actresses who are not working, but we try our best to give back to the communities, to train young people to fight the system through the arts.
Thank you very much. Let us formally welcome Mayor Onke Dumeka. Welcome, Mama. And after, I think she's going to take us through as our facilitator throughout. I'm going to start receding very gradually, but I'll still be seated here just to lend a hand. Before she takes over, we learn that we have Melindiwe Dlamini, who is online. Is it from New York?
Yes, she is in the Lion King. She's in the Lion King in New York. She is the original cast member of Sarafina.
Yes. She played Teaspoon during the original cast of Sarafina. Melindiwe, welcome. Please share your experiences, your views with us and the young people and their teachers who are gathered here. Is she on the screen? Yebo. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that's good. So my name is Lindiwe Dlamini, and I'm from Umlazi, Durban. And what I can share is that I was 18 years old when I came to America with the show, Sarafina. And I remember when we left, we didn't think we were going to come back to South Africa, because at the time we still live under apartheid regime. And so leaving South Africa, we all were told that when we left, we might not be able to come back, we might not be able to allowed back in South Africa. So, but I remember when Mongene used to tell us that even if we don't come back, we need we were more like the ambassadors. We were more like representing the voices of our people in South Africa to the world, to know that what was going on back home. We know with the killing of the kids during apartheid. So the only way those days you can be able to communicate with the world was through music and acting and arts, which that's what Dimogen was known for with his shows, that he really was fighting the struggle by using his talent with arts, because as we know that there's a saying music is a universal language, where when you know how even now when you see your music is played in Germany, you hear people enjoying amapiano, people enjoying all those kind of different of music, because where the world can understand better musically, or like that, instead of fighting. So when we came to America, that's what it was spreading. It was kind of scary because we didn't know what was scary that we were not going to come back, but because of what we knew we were doing, we're fighting for our freedom. We were very young, so we had to go. You know, we had to go to America, all over the world, to spread this word. So even today, when you walk in the streets, the impact that Sarafina had in America, even if you walk in the street 30-something years later, people still are amazed about what we did when we came here. In South Africa, they might not know what the impact that Sarafina had when it came to contributing in our freedom. A lot of people don't know that they only see the movie. The movie is different because when we left, it was like 1987. This was before the movie came out. So a lot of people at home didn't know anything about us who left. Even today, some people don't know about the original cast of Sarafina because we came to America and it's like we disappeared into thin air. But it's a lot that was done that time by the original cast of Sarafina all over the world.
Thank you very much, Mayor Lindiwe. If possible, I know that I like putting people on the spot. Is there a line or two that you still remember? I know that in terms of music, you might be preserving your voice for another performance, but if possible, a line or two, just that nostalgia.
Wow. It's going to be hard for me after Pat's doing that amazing job because he just did Sarafina recently. I haven't done Sarafina in 38 years, in a long time. So I remember, yeah. The only thing is that I remember because my lines were usually like a kind of an informer to tell the students around when the police were coming or what I've heard. You know, when like even the native school is somebody who's just going around gossiping. So I remember when Kanka, who's similar, and Colgate, and I remember who else. I had to tell them and give them, and I had to do this kind all the time to share them that similar, the police are coming, let's run, let's go. So that's the one line that I'm gonna remember right now. And then music-wise, everybody knows Sarafina, you know. So those are the only two things. It's too early for me right now. It's 5 a.m. in America, so voice is not that great to sing. I have another show to go to, so it's a tough one for me.
No, thank you very much, and we really appreciate it. Let's give her a round of applause. Before Sesonke continues, just from a history point of view so that you can understand what she meant. What used to happen before 1990 and when people were going into exile is that they could have gone to perform in New York. Your first stop was Lincoln Center before you went to Broadway. And the apartheid government could decide you are not coming back. That is a factual effect about our history. So a number of artists who ended up in exile, some of them, of course, went out intentionally, but some of them were then banned by the apartheid government to say, yes, we allowed you to come back, but in fact, what you didn't know was that it was a one-way ticket. Do not come back. So a number of them would end up in exile unintentionally, having been refused entry by the government at the time. Sis Onke, over to you. I think the next question will come from the students before we open for the floor.
Thank you so much. Good. It's nearly afternoon, 4 minutes to afternoon, everybody. Sincerest apologies for being late, but I think that there's been an incredible conversation that's happened in the beginning. Congratulations to all of you for putting on your school uniforms on a Saturday. I think it says something about how seriously you take your futures. And that type of a positive attitude, I think, is very important. How many of you here do history as a subject? Okay. So that's not the majority of the room. How many of you have watched the film, Sarafina? Okay, brilliant. So we have people who have Netflix, who have seen it on Sarafina, who have seen it, they've seen the film there, or maybe had seen it before. Okay. So I think it's a good thing that many of you have watched the film, because it would have given you context into the reality of where this country comes from. But it is sad that not too many of you do history as a subject, because, you know, that there's an African saying that goes, if you don't know where you're coming from, you really don't know where you're going. So history, you know, we can debate the curriculum and what they teach you, but it's always important to know where you're coming from. And the sad reality is that I don't think we have enough films in South Africa that, like Sarafina, that give you a real picture of where this country comes from. So in the film, those of you that have seen it, you'll remember the stats that show you that in 1976, you had the youth who decided to do a campaign of resistance against the government. By 1986, 80,000 of them were detained. How many of you have seen the inside of a jail cell? But as in, like, because you're a criminal, right? Haven't been arrested, right? So maybe you've seen it because of a school tour, but you haven't necessarily been detained and charged with charges that, you know, pertain to you fighting for your freedom. So I'm asking these questions because I want to trigger the right thoughts in your minds. To say that you guys sitting wherever you're sitting now, wearing these beautiful uniforms that you're wearing, some of you are lucky enough to be here with some of your teachers. This opportunity that you have today, even the opportunity to go to the schools that you go to, of those 80,000 that were detained, thousands of those died just to have the same opportunity that you guys have here. And all of us, including myself, right? The school I went to, the opportunities I had, I know that there are people that died for that. And when you are not, when in your world, you don't envelop yourself enough with the history and what had to happen for you to be here and to experience the privileges that you have, sometimes it makes it difficult to contextualize the advantage that you have, because the world around you may not seem like you are at any advantage. The premise of the film focuses around struggle. So you're looking at kids who had armed forces on the premises of their high school. So I don't know how many of you sitting here have policemen in the property on your high school when you're having lunch during break. If your teacher says something that doesn't sound well for policemen, your teacher can get arrested. There could be violence on the school grounds. That doesn't exist today, right? But it is exactly what, it is the foundation that lays the very education that you've experienced, the very education that we've also experienced. I'm saying that in the beginning to just as to lay a certain type of foundation on top of the conversation that we've had before, because I think currently it is in your world, obviously as young people you will look at the challenges that you currently face. Maybe some of you live in informal settlements and you go to schools that are in very urban areas, and you go to school with kids who are a lot more privileged than you, and you look only at the problems that you see in your purview, right? Based on what you know, not based on perhaps what are the preceding incidents that led to your family only being able to afford for you to live in an informal settlement. So the point is that every single thing has context. everything is context. In the same way that there is context to how we live in a society now today. There's context to the challenges that we still have. So I think the first question I want to pose is to some of the kids that we have on the panel here. So if you don't like the word kid, you'll forgive me, but to me, you are all babies. But to the young people that we have on the panel here, my first question to any one of you is, if you could be president of South Africa, right? What is the first thing that you would do to empower the youth of South Africa? What's the one thing that you would do to empower the youth if you could be president? If someone said to you tomorrow, you're president of the country, what would you do? So when you answer the question, think in context of what I've just said. You've watched Sarafina, you understand the context and the history of this country. You understand the challenges now as young people and where we need to go. What is the first thing that you would do to change that?
Well, the first
Say your name, sorry.
Okay, sorry. My name is Teshia Kumalo, representing Edward Paturi. So the first thing that I would change is illegal immigration, because we have foreigners that come with illegal things, then they sell to the youth. And then the youth take those substances as, what is this? They say it helps them, but at the end of the day, it kills them. So we are not going to be able to fight these challenges with the rest of the youth damaged or in the streets and killed by these substances. So that's something that I would change, because of it's one of our biggest issues in South Africa right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mulweni, goeiemorgen, morning. My name is Anele Xogozela from Belinda MSI SOS. For me, being a president, actually I wish to be a president, because the first thing that I want to start with is start to develop more jobs for the youth, because everyone, we're not the same. Let's say right now, you might be better in something else, or let's say we are better on books. I'm not good in books. But if you can give me something to work, I can do it. More than you can do it. I remember this other day, one of my friends in primary, we were supposed to make a guitar. Me, I wasn't good in books. Then him was not good in books. And he keeps saying, Jay, what's going to happen? Then me, I never knew. My guitar was not nice, but his, it was well. That's why sometimes you should learn a gratitude, is that each and every one, we're not the same. Don't look at somebody as if that person is nothing. No. You can have each and everything. You can have the certificate. You can have a better education, but you still have no job. But let's say me, I never heard those things, but today, I'm working. Today, I still have something to put in my pocket. I still have the bread to put in the table. Because sometimes there's people who don't understand others and we don't treat them well. You better understand that there's other people who don't have a home. We have to appreciate the little thing that you get. Not each and every, like, let's say it right now. I'm not having an iPhone, but my friend is having an iPhone. I'm going with the Mobicel, the old one. But I'm not there because of what? My time is still coming. And when it comes, I'll be happy, me too. Then my friends, they will come to me. So in life, just be yourself. Don't try to be other people, because you never knew their life. You're born alone. You came alone. Our parents know the history. We don't know the history. Iti, mnandumxhosa guys, iti indlela, bathi indlela ibuzwa kwabaphambili. Umntu ngumntu ngabantu. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you. Anyone else? So we have two takers: substance abuse, not comparing, teaching youth not to compare themselves to others, job creation issues.
So, as the president, the first thing that I would do is make an attempt at closing the wealth and poverty gap between people. And I feel like I can say this from a personal perspective because as a biracial person, um, I've experienced both sides, where I've seen people experiencing poverty on one side of my family, whereas the other side experience more wealth. It's a very big gap between those two, which shouldn't be how it is in the country. Reason being that I feel like that's what hinders our opportunities. I know some of my cousins struggled and they like to compare themselves to me. Reason being that they say that no, you go to Indian school or something like that. But the thing is that it's not about going to an Indian school, it's more about the distribution of resources amongst people. Where you go, example, Soshangu. I know my mother's from there. And she used to say that, growing up, you're so lucky. And 1, 2, 3, 4, but there's different challenges that we face. So going back to my point to say that I'll close the wealth and poverty gap, that close between the wealth and poverty gap can be the difference between him owning a Mobicel and an iPhone. It can be him going to a Samsung, for example. So I feel like that close in the gap can be the big difference between everyone because you go to one area, and on the other side, people are living in mansions. In one country, guys, the difference between, let's say, Northern Cape, people say that it's just sand and dust there, versus Gauteng, we have buildings, we have sanctuaries, we have everything happening here. So why can't they have the same thing? So the distribution and the close between the wealth and poverty gap can be the difference, and that's the first thing that I would do as a
So one of the big problems is it's job creation. We need more jobs, specifically the youth. There isn't enough, obviously there's not enough jobs, there's not enough opportunities. So what you need to encourage entrepreneurship. You need to encourage people to develop businesses. You need to encourage people to find ways to make money, make more opportunities for others. It's not as a single person. We have to act as like a country, as a community. Some people have to make jobs for other people so that we can close the unemployment gap and then close wealth poverty gap. That's the real problem.
Morning, everybody. My name's Ethan. I'm from Pretoria Boys High. What I'm going to say is basically working hand in hand with what these two have said. I'm sure a lot of us over here watched that news broadcast with Cyril Ramaphosa and Donald Trump in the White House. And one of the key things that was said over there is that, we've got all these issues of crime, domestic violence, and all of these things can possibly be stopped by people getting equal opportunities to go and work. And in order for us to build wealth and to bridge the gap between people living in absolute poverty and millionaires and billionaires living in mansions, is that we need to create a way in South Africa for businesses, no matter what or where they're from, to be able to invest in this country properly and without the limitations that they currently have. And I'm not saying that the limitations are necessarily a bad thing, but I believe that in order to attract foreign investment and to bridge that gap between absolute poverty and pure wealth, we need to bring in more businesses and more manufacturing into South Africa. Because the lifeblood of the middle class in South Africa is manufacturing and businesses coming into the country and making a difference and providing employment. Because I don't know about you guys, but BMW has a plant in Roslyn, and that provides, and Nissan and tons of other car companies provide employment for people in South Africa. Imagine if we were to scale that up to other industries, and imagine what we could do with our natural resources. Currently, we send most of our natural resources overseas. We don't have any manufacturing in South Africa, and that's where I believe we need to level up. Because by manufacturing, by creating things in South Africa, it can grow our economy so much because we can sell finished goods and we can export, rather than just rather than selling unfinished goods and exporting those, because we get far less money for that. So in order to bridge the gap, we need to bring in more manufacturing and more business to South Africa and more foreign investment. And I believe our legislation has to change in order for that to happen effectively.
Thank you so much. So I asked that question for two reasons. The first one is that in the actual film, Sarafina, played by Lynette Kumalo, she always speaks to Nelson Mandela, right, who was detained and would later become president. And she speaks to him as a source of inspiration. And there are similarities between what all of you have said. And they ultimately speak to what you highlighted the most, was the opportunities, right? And the lack of equal opportunities for everybody, which have resulted in the crime, people pushing drugs, people using drugs, all of those things. All of that ultimately comes as a result of the lack of opportunities. Now, most of you have seen the film. The film depicts exactly that, which is an issue which was when? In 1976. So my question to Abondade, who were from the cast, and even to the cast member who's online, is we've had now 31 years of democracy. And the conversation from the youth today depicts the same frustration from the youth then, with the challenge with the lack of equal opportunities. Where do you think we've gone wrong as a country to still have the same problem that we face now?
Oh, thank you. First, they talk about illegal immigrants. Secondly, the difference maybe by stealing is still an issue from our government because they steal from the poor. That's what is delaying this country to move forward, to fast track our lives as black people. And the selling of drugs at the same time, because these people who are selling drugs, they don't pay, most of them, they don't pay tax. It's their personal gain. And the job creation, because we must learn how to create jobs for ourselves as black people. We must not rely from America. Everything must come from America or UK. We must learn to create jobs for ourselves in this country. Especially young people, most of them, they are learned now. They've got skills to create jobs. They mustn't depend from the outside world. For instance, like us, the generation of 1976, because most of us, we didn't have skills how to create jobs, except play music and write music or scripts. But you guys have got more chances now to create jobs, because most of you are chemical engineering. They know how to build cars, create jobs for black people.
Do we still have our past member online? I don't know if she wants to weigh in. She's still with us? Yeah, we can't just... Okay, continue.
It's rare when you find somebody working one job. You have to quickly have a good approach to the mind. But most people here, they do like two or what let's say is that stop relying on other things for us. I think to be involved in politics because if what in what's going on, actually you able to defend when you're older. And our Nelson, when we always, if that's what all government
I think Mayor Onke.
It's difficult. Sorry, Sis Lindewe, it's difficult to hear you. I think there's an issue with the connection. Yeah, but I think I got the gist of what you were saying. Yeah, I think I got the gist of what you were saying. You were talking about corruption being the major issue as to why we still have the same problem. And how, you know, in the arts you have to hold down more than one job to sustain yourself. I think that's what you were also alluding to. But I think I got the crux of what you were saying. Yeah.
Most people where I am, they work 2 to 3 jobs. Most people work 2 to 3 jobs. Because you cannot survive if you work only one job. So what I was saying with our youth, I would like for them to really get involved in at a young age, get involved in politics, and learn and know what our government is doing, so that you can know how to change the things that they cannot change, or that you can be able to do for them, like creating jobs. They have faith in creation. South Africa has, I think in the world, the most unemployed youth in the world, which is sad because our country is very rich, you know, it has resources and all this, but our youth, I have maybe 27 nieces and nephews. Most of them went to college. Most of them did get degrees, but most of them are staying at home because they have no jobs, which is a very, very sad situation for me. Every time when I come home to see a lot of kids get involved in drugs, get involved in a lot of things because they are sitting home with their education that we ask them to go to school. We ask them to get a degree. We ask them to learn. But because we have failed them, I think that we have failed the youth of South Africa. What we fought for, what we wanted for us, we are not giving back to the youth. I'm not talking about me personally. I'm talking about our that, you know, that's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for that you know, they don't school, multiple schools, they go to schools, they go to, but
Sis Lindy, I'm going to have to cut you off again. Sorry, because you keep jumping up. I think there's something wrong with the connection. But again, yeah, you were quite audible. You were much more audible this time round when you were talking about the issues around jobs and how young people need to be involved in politics. So thank you very much for that input, because I think it leads me quite nicely into the next question I wanted to ask. In the film, a lot of the characters would express the frustration with them thinking that their elders did not understand how frustrated they were. So they felt that their elders had accepted it. You'll remember when Sarafina is talking to her mother, played by Miriam Makeba, the late great, you know, and in the beginning, Manaya, she speaks to her as though she is disappointed and she doesn't want to grow up and be a domestic worker. until she gets arrested and gets tortured, and she now understands and she says thank you and she's grateful to her mother. But she was frustrated nonetheless. All the youth were frustrated with the elders because they thought they didn't understand how pressing and how serious the issue is. Do you as young people feel the same, that currently you're frustrated by your elders who do not necessarily understand the situation that you're facing? If so, what are some of those critical issues that you feel that they are just not getting in your perspective as young people?
Okay, so definitely we do feel the frustration, and I think it's something that will always be there, that the youth and the elder generations don't feel the same way. And recently, as a grade 10, I think the biggest frustration we all faced was we wanted to do specific subjects, but our elders wanted us to do something different. And I think the reason that frustration comes about is because we, as the younger generation, feel we are more open-minded towards other things, whereas the older generation is a bit more close-minded. So as Sarafina's mother didn't want her to go and fight, that was, I wouldn't say close-minded, but it was her wanting to protect the child. But Sarafina felt as if her mother didn't understand her because she wanted to go out there and fight for freedom. So I want to say that the frustration between the youth and the older people is because the older generations have experienced more, and instead of telling us about their experiences, I feel like they just tell us what they learned from their experiences instead of teaching us about those experiences. That's why we don't understand why they feel that way, and that's why we force our frustrations on them.
Thank you for that. I want to take it to the floor. Are there any questions or comments in this regard?
Hello, my name is Neo Pashan. You mentioned earlier, you spoke of how police officers would evade or invade your schools and potentially arrest the teacher for speaking out of turn. You also mentioned that that doesn't happen today. That's not true, actually. In many situations where police officers, they raid schools right here in Pretoria. I mean, they've raided schools like my own, and instead of necessarily attacking the teachers or fighting them for speaking out of turn, the students are more the victim. I've witnessed police officers assault students for contraband or being in possession of contraband, which is wrong, yet they addressed it in a way that was not right. Students who said anything about their personal space or protecting their sexuality, maybe being that their gender doesn't allow them to have a specific or any other gender search them, they would also get assaulted by the police. And I think that the police or police brutality in the country is ignored by all adults. That's the big gap that there is. I mean, students would mention this in many situations in school assemblies. Parents would have to come to school because their children have been assaulted, and it would still persist all throughout the year. On random days, they would come into schools and then search students for obviously contraband, and if they were found with any, they would be assaulted and arrested. What are your takes on that?
Police on site on the premises of the school. So to answer your question, I'm glad that you raised that, because you are highlighting something as a young person that you are saying people overlook, that still today in 2025 if you are a young person who goes to a school in some schools in Pretoria, you still can feel that you are not safe on the school, on the premises, because of the very police that are actually supposed to keep you safe. So questions around human rights, around human dignity, then become a question mark. I think with some of these things that I'm trying to raise here is that, you know, if we look around where we are, this type of memorial site that we're at Freedom Park, the whole film focuses around freedom. The song that they sing all the time, freedom is coming tomorrow. The sad reality is, and I'm saying this also as an employee of government, right? So I know the risk that I'm saying when I'm saying this. But the sad reality is that you have young people here who have expressed their views, who are saying that there are issues with equal opportunity. There are still issues with police brutality. If you listen to what they are saying today, and you watch Sarafina that was made all those years ago, the sad reality is that you think of the salient points. Unfortunately, there is no different on the fundamental issues that are being raised in the film and the fundamental issues that young people are going through today. Which raises the question to say, as government and as a country, how are we going to make a turnaround in the situation and create the type of country that addresses these issues critically so that in the next 30 years or 50 years, when young people are talking about the challenges that they're facing, you don't have things like police brutality that are raised. You don't have a question of equal opportunities still being raised. It's something we really, really need to face, because when we celebrated 30 years of democracy as a country last year, yes, there was important significance because of where we'd come as a nation. But to the normal person on the ground, if you were to ask if their lives had changed, maybe the situation would not be the same for the most of South Africans. So those are the hard realities we have to face. We can be proud of the young people we have today. You guys are very articulate. You clearly are very serious about your futures. But as a country, we need to make sure that we are creating the type of country, creating the type of environment that will keep these young people here and will not have them want to travel to other countries in the world and stay there, because still the opportunities here are not good enough for them. They're just not broad enough for them. So I think you raised a very valid question. And I think these types of conversations, we need to be brave enough to get to unpack the critical things and be honest about, where we are as a country and where we really, really need to go. Because we shouldn't be talking about the same things after 30 years. Are there any other? I see you have a hand.
Can I come in maybe and suggest the program director that I would want us to ensure that a facilitator make sure that each school from the floor gets an opportunity. So if we can take comments from each school, then, because I'm also worried about time, that we also have the rounding up from the floor.
Good morning, I'm Botani Masangu, and I am here to represent the Glen High School. And I wanted to answer the question of, if you were president, what would you change? I feel like everyone here is thinking the same thing, which is unemployment, the issues around opportunities. But I think it lies based on education. I think education plays a big role in how the structure of the economy is and how well we are as a country. Because if we change the education system in terms of what is being taught in schools, like in subjects like history, in history, the subject doesn't focus on the historical events that have happened in a country, but history focuses on what happened in Western countries. They don't focus on what has happened in African countries. They don't focus on the fact that African countries have been through this and how it affects them currently. I think if that could change and the youth could see that there are still problems and these problems come from this, then they would try to change their mentality around certain things. And I think also education could play a big role in the older generation, as the other speaker said, that the older generation tends to be more close-minded than the younger generation. I think it's because people have different perspectives on our views with things, and if everyone had one perspective, or if everyone came as a collective and see, okay, they're struggling with this, I'm struggling with this, we are different and our situations aren't the same, but they are able to acknowledge the fact that it's also a situation and I need to help around where I can, or I need to be educated enough not to judge them or not to put them down because our situations are different. So I'm here to say that if I was president, I would make sure that the education system is more different in places like LO. I feel like subjects like LO are carried on from what, grade 8, from grade 4 to grade 12. But I don't think LO teaches on important aspects. Like I don't think LO could ever, I feel like LO could be improved into a subject that teaches society about maybe the patriarchy or things like that, to say, okay, there's a level of inequality in society and we need to stop this, and this is how you do it. So that's my intake. Thank you.
The white. Okay, you can just stand up so that I see.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kabelo Matlaila and I'm representing Session Secondary School. I'd like to comment on the question of what would you do if you were the President of South Africa. The first thing that I would emphasize on is racial integration. If all of us become one and stop categorizing ourselves as white, coloreds, and Indians, I feel like we would move to a much brighter South Africa than we are now. If we learn to stop categorizing people and say, he's white, he's Indian, we are all black, we're all the same. If, for example, if we use the system of the World Cup, you see how people integrate and love each other, they forget that they are black or they are white. If we use such a system in which we use it to put people into one place and identify themselves as one and stop categorizing themselves as white, blacks, or Indians. So I believe that if we emphasize on racial integration, we as South Africa, we have a much better way up front. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Isabella and I'm representing Velodium Secondary School. Building off of the racial topic, I think as an Indian individual, we're all depicted a different picture of apartheid or different experiences from apartheid. So everyone is told a different story or everyone is told different experiences. So I think my main question for the cast members or those who fought against apartheid would be, how do you think us as the youth today could bridge the gap between us as different races, and how do you think it could be used to bring us together as a country? Because I think between apartheid and now, the biggest, I wouldn't say issue, but the biggest topic is race. And I think because everyone was told different stories, it's different for everyone, or everyone understands it differently. So the main question is, how do you think we can bridge the gap between races?
Speaking to an equal opportunity standpoint, I think there's a problem with the mentality. Where are you from? From Victoria Boys High School. Stain City. And they spoke to us on how they displaced 2,000 people within Diepsloot to make that area part of Stain City. And they just neglected the people who were already there. So I think the mentality needs to shift in giving more opportunities to those who already have power than those who have less power. It's almost as those who don't necessarily have the opportunity to speak up for their problems and what they go through. There's no opportunity to speak on those problems yet. Those in power say they have that standpoint, but they've never experienced it. So I think that mentality needs to be discussed and approached in government from people from those areas or those financial problems. Because I think that's a major opportunity, just reflecting and bridging that gap between the poor and the rich. Because there's necessarily no discussion or opportunity within that environment from a governmental standpoint.
Before we answer her question, let's just take the last two there. There was a hand here, or the last three, and then you can answer her question.
My name is Kumo and I'm from Edward Patudi. So it's not really a question that I want to ask. You guys were talking about unemployment, and you said that unemployment is an issue. But for me, I believe that it's not. I believe that there are jobs out there. It's just that us, as the youth, we don't have the necessary skills needed for those jobs. For example, if the government today was to say, we are about to create 1,000 jobs, and we're gonna do infrastructure refreshments, railroads, we're gonna build new buildings and everything else. Who were the people that were gonna do those jobs? Because it's definitely not gonna be us, the youth. Because yes, our education doesn't really necessarily, it lacks the adequate preparation for the workforce, but it's also the fact that we are unable to think as the youth, and we are unable to develop our skills further. And so we blame that on the government. But if we were to actually stand up and really develop our skills, then I don't think that unemployment would be such an issue.
Good day. My name is Kathleen instead of Philippa High School. My question is directed to the past members of actors of Sarafina. I think most of you emphasized more on how lucky we are as the youth of today. Now, comparing from the way that you guys fought for freedom and looking at the way in which our economy is, the state of it is now, what do you think that we can do as the new generation to improve the sustainability of our economy?
So those are all of the questions. Most of them were posed at the cast members of Montate. So we'll go through them one by one. So the first one was about bridging the gap between the young and the old. So the young lady was saying that, you know, there are people experienced apartheid differently. She is of Indian descent, so, you know, those people in her family experienced apartheid in a certain way that may not necessarily have been the same way that if she has a black friend, if that her parents or grandparents experienced apartheid. So she's saying, how do we bridge the gap between that certain understanding of apartheid, those differences in people experiencing it differently?
I think to start with, the issue of color, to bridge the gap, because the blacks and the Indians, most of the Indians, they were freedom fighters. You look at Ahmed Katrada, most of the Indians were freedom fighters. I want to encourage that the issue of color in South Africa, because we must learn to work together, the black, whites, and Indian and coloreds, because at the end of the day, it's our country. It needs us. There's no place that District 6, Sophia Town, black people were moved there by the Afrikaners, by the white Afrikaner, the white regime, to divide us. When they did that, their aim was to take over. They didn't care about the color of your skin, but it was against blacks, because white people, there are still white people who are fighting for the liberation of this country, same as coloreds and Indians. You guys, as a youth, must shift that focus of racist, the issue of color, because like you said, you've got, right now you're an Indian lady sitting to a white gentleman, there's a black, an African lady next to you. If you can share that spirit and treat one another as human beings, forget about the issue of color, because color can divide this country. When you look at our flag is mixed with many colors. If you can use that mind, or the mindset of thinking of one another, taking care of one another, forget about the issue of color, because right now we're experiencing in schools, when I look at the African ladies here, the Indian guy, the Indian brothers, and our white young men, they used to poke each other that hey, you are more black, I'm white. I don't think there's a big difference, because the difference is how you think. It's in your mind. It's only a mindset, because this country needs you together.
So I want to go quickly to the other question. One of the young people were asking, why is there anger towards other races? Can you help them understand why there's so much anger? So if a black person who was youth in 1976, why would they have so much anger towards, for example, an Afrikaans person? Because I need to pela bona, they go to school with each other. So they don't understand why maybe their grandparents or their parents, if they're a bit older, would not like anyone from another race.
Somewhere I will blame to the elderly, because some of us, we elder people, were not being sincere about your kids to tell you the real truth, what happened in this country, what was happening back in the day in this country. When we look at it, when I have a black kid, I'll tell my kids that don't trust white people, because end of the day, they will segregate you. They will talk about you as a stupid, maybe a stupid black man or a stupid black woman. But there's no such, because most of us black people by then, even back in the day, we were learned just like white people. You look at Albert Tulibo, President Mandela, Walter Sisulu. Those people, they were lawyers. And at the same time, you look at Indians people, Ahmed Katrada, those people were very, very educated. We parents, we must learn to tell our kids at home that the issue, they must forget about the issue of color if you want to make this country to go forward and to build a new clean slate. Because the baton is on your hands now. There's no need for you to look back and say, hey, these are kafirs and these are white people, they are rednecks, they call each other by names. It won't work if you want to build this country.
Was it just, oh, go ahead.
Thank you. I would like to add just on what Prapet has said. In Sarafina, I know most of you have not seen Sarafina, the stage play. But in Sarafina, there is a scene in the end where all the students kind of compete, or the students are planning to do a concert, and that concert, someone must play Nelson Mandela. So the students fight for that role until Sarafina, because of her braveness, she wins the character to play Nelson Mandela. Now, there were many questions asked when that scene was first shown, when Sarafina was first shown in the public. A lot of politicians were saying, why are you making Mandela a woman in the first place? Because now that role is played by, was played by Leleti Sarafina. And the other question was, why, what did I want to say? My train of thought. Okay, the question from the politicians was, why are we making Mandela a woman? And the answer to that from the director of the show was, Mandela is no longer a person. He is bigger than just being a human being. He is a spirit. The spirit of Mandela can be in any one of us, whether white, black, Indian, or colored. So remember, that show was written when Mandela was still in jail. So in that scene, when Sarafina is playing that character of Mandela, she is speaking about reconciliation. She is speaking about the love of one another, black and white, Indian and colored. Everyone, let us have one voice. And when Mandela came out of prison in 1990, in his rallies around the country, he was preaching the very same message, that we all should unite. Let us not see color in a person. Let us see a human being, because we are all humans. It is up to us as parents of today to teach our children that very same spirit of reconciliation, because we cannot dwell on the fact that I was tortured by the police one day, so when I see a white person, I must be angry at them. He was not there. This is a different generation. This is a different time. Even the white people of that time, they were different. Some of them were part of the struggle for liberation, and some of them, of course, were just agents of the state, of that state.
The next question was it justified for the police to use force on the students in 1976?
Definitely no, it was not justified.
Why? Help them understand. You know, one consistent thing a lot of young people have said here is that they actually, you know, when we talk about race and all of these things and just the different perspectives about apartheid, there's not enough teaching and knowledge sharing about our history.
Yes, that's
There
very
isn't.
true.
So,
That's very true.
So it may be an obvious thing to say, obviously it wasn't justified. But there's just not enough knowledge that's shared.
Yes, that's true. I know that most of the information was not passed to one another, especially regarding the struggle, because everything that we did at the time was very secretive. Your neighbor was not supposed to know what you are doing, because also there were spies at the time. The people, you could trust people, sit with them in one room, they are observing what you are saying or what you are doing, and they're going to report you to the state, and the next thing you get arrested or you get killed. So one of the reasons why a lot of the older generation did not talk more about these things is because of fear of being killed or being arrested. We grew up in a generation where, I remember even my mother, when we started this acting business, talking politics and everything, she used to say, you guys are going to get arrested, you are going to rob an island. I didn't know what was Robben Island at the time. But my mother used to say, you are going to rob an island. You know, nizohamba nizovalelwa eSpringini, you know, because it was an information that was not supposed to be shared. Only if you are in a circle of people, like-minded people, then you would talk about such things. So I think that mentality went on and on to the next generations of not wanting to share experiences. I know the Indian community played a very big role in our struggle. The white people played a very big role in our struggle. Colored people, communities played a very big role, but there's never been that a room open for everyone to say, let us share what we went through, so that our kids cannot look at each other like we looked at each other ourselves, you know, so that our kids can have a different look in life and, you know, a different feel that, okay, now we are in this country that is free. I can be free to talk to someone, I can be free to open my afro, I can be free to do my shoe scope, I can be free, I cannot be judged by doing ABC because of a certain race that I am.
Thank you so much. And then another question was the state of the economy. How do we improve it? How would you suggest that we improve the state of the economy now?
That one is for the economic people. But to start, I can say in very short, corruption now, from our government people, those we trust and believe that they can improve the lives of the people of this country. There's too much corruption, and at the same time, and create jobs. Job creation, we lack job creation. Unemployment is too high. The selling of potatoes, must sell potatoes is very. Stand in a corner and sell potatoes and oranges. But the government must create jobs.
Okay, so it's a job creation issue, okay? And then the last one was, how can young people today use their frustration to, with whatever they're challenging with, is drugs, alcohol, issues with jobs, how can they have the same inspiration to have a movement, to have the same movement that existed in 1976?
Oh, wow. The class of 1976, most of us were not educated, but we loved education because if we were given a chance, like you guys, to go to school, maybe we would take this country. By now, this country will be far from what it is at the moment. Education, because it's a cornerstone wherever you go. Education, because if you are educated, you can think more positive about other people, and you can make conferences and create jobs for those who are poor.
And you can also sing songs, you know, take out your frustrations through singing. Create cultural groups whereby you can write plays about your situations in your schools. One of you guys talked about some students that being violated in schools and everything. Say those things out. Don't just keep them to yourselves. Create some little platforms for yourselves to voice out your feelings. You know what I mean?
So I think he raises a good point because, you know, the film Sarafina, the play itself, art was used as a form of political defiance, where people could not be limited. They could express it through art. But right now, we are in a. Okay, it's not my phone. Okay. We're in the information age. So you all have these smartphones. Fees Must Fall movement a couple of years ago. All of that was done through garnering up those voices, those frustrated voices around university fees, primarily through this device. So, you know, I'm sure most of you are on TikTok. You have platforms, so many more platforms that do not have the limitations that media used to have back in the day. And these platforms didn't even exist way back when. So a lot of what you want, most of the time, is right in front of you. You just need to be united by a common cause and to start small. And eventually, you know, you can see where that takes you. But I think the conversation today ends here. I think it's been quite robust. Okay. I think it's been quite robust. Thank you to everyone who has joined us, particularly all the young people from the different high schools, and especially the esteemed cast of the film Sarafina who are here today with us in person, and also those who are online, and also the co-facilitator and program director who led this event from the onset. But I would like to say to Ms. Lindiwe, if you're still online, if you do have any closing remarks that you would like to share with us. If you can please unmute, Ms. Lindiwe.
I'm sorry to be involved. This was an amazing opportunity for me to hear the youth of South Africa. I hope this can continue. You guys can continue doing this. I feel that from hearing all these young kids is that they have so many questions. And if this can continue, it will be amazing. And I want to answer one question about a young man who said, why are we still angry at the older generation? I don't think it's mostly the anger. I think it's more frustration. It's more frustration that we still have people who are still racist in our country, who do not want to continue and have a better future for our youth. But it's up to our youth to change this. Don't look at us anymore. You can look for guidance from us, but I think you as a youth are the future of South Africa. So if you guys keep talking to one another and change what is going on and love one another, black, white, Indian, and colors, this country will be amazing. So that's the only thing I can say right now is that it's up to you now to carry the torch and be able to change a lot in South Africa. Like I said before, try and get involved in politics, try and learn other things, but be involved so that you can be awake and be able to change things that you want for your future.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lindiwe. You know, I mean, most of you know what artificial intelligence is, AI. And it's going to make a lot of jobs redundant. So maybe some of the jobs that were the big thing to study for 10, 20 years ago, in 10, 20 years, those jobs won't exist. So I love the point she's raising about get into politics. I think the most important thing, the biggest takeaway from that film and the cast members and the entire energy that the youth in 1976 had is that they wanted better for themselves. They wanted better for themselves, they wanted better for the country, they were willing to fight for it. They were willing to do what was necessary. Some of them had to be spies, some of them had to be very secretive, like Utata was saying, but they wanted it badly enough. So as youth today who have, even though many of the problems may still be there, but the opportunities are chalk and cheese, they're far different. You still have to want a better future for yourself. You still have to want it. In the same way that they wanted it and they created the change that has resulted in everyone being here, black, white, colored, Indians sitting together, you have to want better. We've raised the issue about the drugs, we've raised the issue about the job inequality, and all of these things you were raising today. You have to want better, you have to be curious, you have to want more for yourself. That is what leads to change, that is what drives things forward. You have to be that curious enough, you have to be that needy enough to want something different. So that is something that I think Abudat and all of the cast members and also Sis Lindiwe, they were in a position enough back then to have experience of firsthand. So perhaps it can be a takeaway for you as young people, as you go forward into your futures, as you write your exams this year, and you all pass with A's, and you go on to your next years, or some of you in matric, you go into university next year, you want better for yourself, you're curious enough to do that. You know, when I studied, when I was in matric, I did history, it was one of my matric subjects. But the curriculum for South African, we did South African and international history. The South African component, it ended at 1948. So it literally ended before all of the major things happened. So someone was talking about life orientation and how the content of the subject can be improved. The history I was taught, it ended at a particular period for whatever reason there was. You've got to be curious about your country and where you come from. This thing is a very powerful tool where there's lots of information. But also, I think we also need to do better as a film industry to produce more content that speaks to our history over and above the beautiful film that Sarafina is. So thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mayor Onke, for the facilitation. Mine is going to be a very simple one, maybe like we did with Sis Lindiwe and Dade Hadebe. Just your closing remarks, followed by...
Thank you everybody. You young generation, you are the one who have to close this gap between races. Because now you attend same schools, black and white Indians. You are the one who has to get together and change this mindset of we are black, we are white, whatever. It's up to you how to change this racism of black and white. Thank you.
I can say you guys must take care of yourselves. Be serious, because this country needs you. Because you are the fathers and the mothers of tomorrow. We are old now. This country needs you, and a very, very serious. It's a beautiful country, and without you, we're going to lose it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we are very fortunate. A few years back, 2 years if I'm not mistaken, I traveled to this other country where we were told that the preschools and the pre-primary schools are closing because of the laws of the government that people are not supposed or are not allowed anymore to have more children, to have more babies. So in that country that I'm not going to mention, there is less children. That means now if you look at it, in 20 years from now, there will be no youth in that country because they are all concerned about economics, what. We are so fortunate that we have the youth that we trust, that will take this country forward in everything that has happened. I mean, about Tate, Dr. Nelson Mandela, and all those people, they opened the way for us, and we should take it serious. Look at ourselves, go look at yourself in the mirror and say, we are going to do this. This is our country that our forefathers fought for. So we need to really do something and make this country great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I want one or two teachers to also say something. One or two teachers. Our teachers are shy.
Good morning, everyone. I'm from Pretoria Boys High. I'd like to first thank Freedom Park and also the cast from Sarafina. You are fortunate to be able to have these people and that they can tell you the story. Freedom Park for the opportunity to have us here and also to expose us. And like ma'am said, you have that phone. You have access to information. Use it, okay? And also, I think one of the boys said that he spoke about police brutality. You have TikTok. Use it. Expose the problems in our country because that's the only way that the government is going to know that you are not happy. So use it, okay? Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. The other one wants to say something.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mr. Mkanza from Lordham Secondary. I just want to say thank you for everyone. Actually, something that I wanted to bring up. My kids had never seen Sarafina before, which is something that was a shock to me. I had to sit down with them and watch it with them, and then while we were watching, I had to pause, ask a question. We had a dialogue about it, and I love what Isabella said when she expressed, because a lot of them, what they expressed, because listen to me saying I teach in an Indian community, right? And what I noticed from them is that how I know apartheid from how my grandparents told me about it and how they received it is very different. So I think it is important for us to have such conversations where we gather around together and have conversations like this to sort of end up with the same viewpoint or perspective. So thank you very much for this opportunity, because also I only found out like ma'am was saying over there, to say when you are in school, the history that you're being taught is not history that we would hear out in the streets. I only found out the true definition of apartheid when I got to university, because also the type of schools that we go to, it's also conversations that we never have. Conversations about race are not there, and we always want to be in close proximity to whiteness, and that to us feels like, oh, you have acquired something in life. Then you get to university and you realize, okay, you speak great English, you are surrounded by white people, but what else can you do? Do you know where you come from? So as a history teacher, this is beautiful for me. Thank you so much to Freedom Park. Thank you to the cast of Sarafina, and thank you to the youth for actually be willing to come here today. And I think we are going to go back home and we are going to reevaluate and reassess our biases and figure out who those biases are serving. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys, for sharing your views. I'm now looking at time. I was going to give each one of you closing remarks, but let me do that. Let me do that.
Afternoon, everyone. Just want to say thank you to Freedom Park and the cast of Sarafina and everyone that was involved in this project. I think it was really eye-opening for me and for all of us over here. And I hope that everyone over here just uses this as a learning opportunity and a way to sort of just bring this into your school so that in the future, we're better than anyone before us. So, yeah, thanks, guys.
I'm just genuinely going to echo what Ethan said. Thank you to everyone. This is a very useful opportunity to learn more about what it was like under the system that that harmed a lot of people, and basically everyone in this room. Exceptions. So I think it is very useful for everyone to understand. We must learn more about what it was like. We must never forget our history, because again, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. We need to prevent things from happening again that are very dangerous.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for everyone who played a role in bringing this event together, especially for all of us who decided to come and attend. I'd like to add on to what my teacher said, that we're going to go home and reassess and reevaluate, and I hope that all of us take this as a learning experience and remain open-minded as the youth of tomorrow, and that we can make this country a better place after learning about each other and closing the distances between each other as we become the rainbow nation, as we say.
I would like to pass it to someone from my school, and I know he prepared the vote of thanks, so over to you.
No, I'm coming to that. I'm in church now.
Guys, mina ndiyabulela kakhulu ngethuba endilitholile namhlanje. Imini emnandi leso ukuthi sazi uba we know ukuthi there's a history that happened back there that we don't know about. That our parents were fighting for our freedom, as whereby us we're not there, but they fought it and they won. And we have to use that thing ukuthi umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu, izandla ziyagezana. You won't wash your hands, you won't do this in your hands. This side you won't wash it, but the other, izandla ziyagezana bafethu. Stick to that. Uthi umnyama ubovu ndani bala lakho lisisi. I'm black, you're black, we're all black. It's just the matter of the color of my skin. With heart, I'm also black. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The vote of thanks is coming. I follow protocol. Once the vote of thanks has been done, we are closed, so he'll be the last. I'm going to give my colleagues the chance to come and give out gifts. Kopano, who watches Netflix? Disaster Holiday. So you have been asking, I think, does she look like? Oh, I think I've seen her. And she works here at Freedom Park. You are welcome to take photos with her so that she won't say no. I'm instructing her to agree to photos. Thank you very much, Kopano. So you'll be in trouble with photos. Thank you very much. We are over time. I don't want to waste your time. Just to tell you two important ways that anyone can tell you, to our facilitator, to our cast, our brothers who educated us and advanced the struggle during those dark times. My kids who agreed to be on the panel and shared, all of you, my kids in a social sense, for agreeing and sacrificing your day to day, to my colleagues and to everyone who made it. Teachers, thank you very much. That is what I want to say. After this, we've got lunch to share In Setswana, they say, "Bana ba motho bana tshwana tshwana ya tsi." Literally, it says, siblings share the head of a grasshopper. You know how small it is, but they cut it together and share it. You understand the figurative meaning? Eh? We share together. I'm going to also ask, we've got our official photographer, but I know you also have cell phones. My brothers, I hope that you are available. My suggestion is going to be that we take group photos per school. Ne? Group photos per school after we have closed, as we preparing ourselves to go to lunch. Lunch is served outside. We are all invited. I think I've covered everything, Matesh. I've covered everything. After the vote of thanks, I have no right to say anything. My son, come and say the vote of thanks. As you close, you say, the session is adjourned. Ne? Your vote of thanks, you end it by saying the session is adjourned.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pikan Tomosibe, representing Edward Patudi and the Girls and Boys Empowerment / Educational Movement. It is my honor and, privilege to deliver the vote of thanks at the conclusion of this inspiring and eye-opening Youth Month dialogue. Now, first and foremost, I'd like to give thanks to Freedom Park for hosting us and the Sarafina cast members for taking time out of their busy schedules to be with us today. Your words were not only encouraging, but rather they were a reminder of the power and responsibility we, the youth, hold in shaping our future. I would like to extend my gratitude to the organizers and the technical teams who are working tirelessly behind the scenes. Trust and believe me when I say we see you. And I also give thanks to the district official for being present and other esteemed guests. And finally, a big thank you to all the youth present here. May this celebration continue to inspire you to dream big, act boldly, and make a difference. Thank you and have a wonderful day ahead. This session is adjourned.
Bra Vincent, you'll tell us where to take photos per school, ne? Okay. Yeah.